All right, let's just jump right into it there, Mzwandile. So can you tell us what is the role of Corruption Watch in exposing corruption in South Africa, and how does it work with members of the public?
Right. I think it's easier if I can just give a background of who Corruption Watch is. So we're a non-governmental organization that was launched in 2012. We encourage and rely on the public to report these incidences of corruption to us. We use these reports as an important source of information to fighting corruption in South Africa and holding our leaders accountable. We have a number of reporting channels, of course, where people can report these incidences to us. They can either report on our website, they can send us a WhatsApp, we have a WhatsApp line. They can also come into our offices, but unfortunately now, because of social distancing, that tends to fall out. So we use other means of communication. So since 2012, we have received about 30,000 reports from people all across the country. And this has helped us to actually research the hotspots and trends of corruption, to advocate for strong anti-corruption policies and legislation, to also investigate selected cases of corruption, and also we engage on strategic litigation as well. So we also conduct mass communication and also mounted a public mobilization campaign. So far, we are running a campaign that is focused on corruption that is happening in the health sector and corruption that is happening in land and land distribution, and also in the mining royalties as well. But our particular focus today is the campaign that we are running, focusing on corruption within the SAPS.
All right. So can you tell us just a little bit around what is police corruption exactly, and why is Corruption Watch so concerned about this?
So look, corruption and criminality in South Africa, particularly in the South African police services, has diminished public trust and confidence in this institution, and as well as put a price tag on our law. As we all know, South Africa has a crime and corruption problem, and however, the very institutions that are set up to fight corruption and criminality are themselves or have themselves been marred in corruption, in corrupt incidences and corruption allegations, labels against them. So according to the recent Global Corruption Barometer, about 49% of South Africans believe that the South African Police Services is the most corrupt institution in the country. And similarly, a Corruption Watch has undertaken a survey which highlights that 56% of respondents have actually been victims or experienced police corruption or misconduct. So Corruption Watch has received about 2,000 whistleblower reports since 2012 in actual fact, which has prompted us to undertake such a campaign that is focusing on police corruption. And what people are reporting to us, or have been reporting to us, is that police officers have been asking the public for bribes. Police officers have been abusing their official capacity to smuggle narcotics and alcohol. Police officers have been selling contents of police dockets, actually. And police officers have been protecting drug dealers, smugglers, and other type of criminality. But what is also disturbing here is a phenomenon that is now on the rise, which is referred to as extortion. This is where women or females are actually asked for sexual favors in exchange for services that are supposed to be rendered for free. So there's also intimidation of the public through violence and brutal force by members of the SAPS.
Man, Mzwandile, that is very, very disturbing news right there. So just in terms of our community members on the ground, what exactly are the people's rights in relation to policing? Because I feel like, as South Africans, we tend to just use loosely the term that I have my rights, it is my basic human rights or my constitutional right, and then we don't even know what exactly that entails. So can you take us down or take us through what exactly the public's rights are in relation to policing?
So, our rights are actually upheld by the supreme law of the country, which is the constitution of our country, which states clearly that we have a right to be treated with respect and dignity. We have a right to refuse to pay a bribe or a sport fine, which states that we have a right to report any approach for a bribe. We have the right to ask police officers for their identity. We have a right not to be tortured in any way or be treated in a cruel or inhuman manner. And we also have a right to take pictures and to take photos and record conversation with police officers. And I think this has been a very important tool. The cell phones that we now have served as a very important tool to record some of the inhumane or undignified incidences that have been reported throughout our country. So they've acted as a recorder of human rights violations by and large.
Mm-hmm. All right. Now, just a little bit further to that you are referring to right now. So you are in essence saying to me and to our listeners that yes, indeed, you do have the right to pull out your cell phone and take pictures or record police either harassment or brutality where the public is concerned. Am I correct?
Yes, of course. That is the right that people have. But of course, I think in most cases, and I think this is needs to also be explained, that maybe what should members of the public do if they experience, I suppose, police corruption. I think in most cases, what we would advise members of the public is that if the police officer is, of course, in uniform, they will have to note the rank of the police officer, the name of the police officer. But if the police officer in question is not in uniform, they must try and obtain as much evidence as possible. Probably record the registration of the car, the markings of the car, the time, dates, in place where the incident had happened, and to try and produce supporting evidence, I suppose, in the form of testimony or any information that can help in verifying the case. And what is also important is that the information that has been recorded, either photograph or a recording, they should not be tampered with in any way because they serve as an important source of evidence. So in instances where people have been assaulted by police officers or they are injured as a result of police action, they must seek medical assistance. And once they have received medical attention, they should ensure that they complete the J88 form. So the J88 form would be a legal document that is compiled by a medical doctor or registered nurse, which would document the extent of injuries that one has sustained or the victim has sustained, and that would sort of assist because that would assist in a legal investigation.
Mzwandile, just take us through, man, we can't even ask whether corruption is rife in South Africa anymore because we know that to be true, right? So if you can just take us through whether Corruption Watch have received any complaints about police in the Eldorado Park and surrounding area.
Yes, of course. We have received complaints of members of the public in Eldorado Park. So these have been few complaints that highlight issues of criminals paying bribes to avoid being arrested, as well as police officers failing to open and investigate cases of assault and criminality. So recently, I suppose, now during this lockdown, we have been receiving complaints about police not responding to complaints of public gatherings that that were taking place, particularly in Eldorado Park, as well as assault and harassment of members of the public. So we are looking into those matters, and we'll be dealing with those matters as and when they continue to come to us.
All right, Mzwandile, now what then do we do as community should we experience police corruption? If you can put it as plain as step 1, you do this. Step 2, you do this. So that everybody can have a very clear understanding of what the actual process of this is.
So the first step, I think, what people should do, I think, firstly, it's very important to cooperate, because incidences differ. You find that at times it is at night, and in most cases, females would tend to or women, and in this country, we know that we have a huge history, and we have a problem of violence against women. Right. So it's very best to protect yourself in instances like that. If you are being pulled off by a police officer, you need to record all of these things. But if need be, you must protect yourself at all times. So do not at any point, if it would lead you into trouble, to assert your right at that particular time. What one can do is to record all of the things that we have stated before. Record the name of the police officer, the car in which they were traveling, where the incidences would happen, because that assists us when we take the matter further. But where of course circumstances permit, people would have to articulate their rights, and they have the right to request the identification of the police officer, to request their rank, and to also know why it would, of course, they've been pulled over.
Just before we wrap up, I had personally gone to Eldorado Park SAPS earlier in the year. I think it could have been around Feb. And man, it is very, very difficult if you are trying to address an issue and somebody refuses to even give you their name or rank or whatever it is that they are doing over there. So do I then have a right to take my pen and paper and actually write down the name as I see it on the badge?
Yes, I think that is the right that you have, and that assists us greatly when we look into the matters that have been reported to us. If we know who the police officer is, we know their rank, we know the police station they work in. If the incident happens outside of the police station, if we know what car they were traveling in, what is the registration of the car, we are able to then pinpoint the location, and we are able to get details as to who the police officer in question or was at that particular time, or who the police officer was driving the car is. So the identity can then be found if we have all of this information that would have been provided to us.
Okay, now, just on the other side of this coin, we should then also communicate to community that whilst we are saying that there are some cases of corruption within the South African police services, we should also then be responsible and advise our community that if in fact a police officer does approach you in order to ascertain anything for any reason, that yes, indeed, one cannot say to the police officer, I do not want to speak to you, don't speak to me.
No, I think it's very important to cooperate with police officers, and I think what we are not by any means trying to condone lawlessness and anarchy by any means. I suppose what we want is for members of the public to be treated with dignity that is enshrined in our constitution. We want people to be treated with the respect that is also enshrined in our constitution. For that to happen, there needs to be trust, there needs to be transparency, there needs to be accountability within the police force, and how they they actually conduct themselves. So these are some of the things that have actually prompted us to undertake a campaign into the SAPS, because we have been getting these reports from members of the public who not necessarily at first would not understand their rights and their responsibility, and secondly, they wouldn't know how to, of course, go about reporting these incidences when they happen. Because in most cases, we find that these incidences go unreported because most people would think, well, this is how police officers behave, this is how they used to behave, this is how they continue to behave, and there's nothing that could be done about it. So that could never be further from the truth. So we would encourage members of the public, whenever they come across these incidences, to report to us. Like I said, they could find us in various reporting platforms that we have. They could go to our website. They could report to us on WhatsApp. I'll leave their WhatsApp number now. I'm not sure if I can give it to you now. But it's 072-013-5569. So they can get in contact with us and we can take down their incidents.
Okay, Mzwandile, that was going to be my subsequent question, man. I see here on the email that was sent through by Pamelo that you guys are also found in Bromfontein. Now, we do know that we are encouraged to stay at home as much as possible, but you'll find those members of the public who are going to say to you, man, I don't understand when I'm speaking with somebody over the phone. So are members of the community welcome to come to your offices as well to bring their complaints?
Unfortunately, not now. Our office is currently closed due to the regulations. But as and when our office is open, that would be communicated with members of the public. Mm-hmm. But currently, what we would advise people to do is to use all of the numbers that we have provided. And they can also send us a please call me on the very same number. Awesome. And someone would then be in contact with them.
Awesome stuff. Man, we are going to leave it right there. Mzwandile, thank you so very much for chatting with us this morning around this very, very important conversation.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Anytime. We are available.
We're looking forward to building up a very, very fruitful relationship with you guys as we go along. So please do feel free to communicate whatever it is that you're needing for us to know as the community.
No problem. Thank you very much for your time, and thanks to the listeners as well.
All right. Keep well, yeah? Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.
That is Mzwandile Banjathwa from the Corruption Watch. Unfortunately, as you heard, their offices are still closed during, due to the lockdown regulations. However, you can get a hold of them via the phone. Their landline right there is 011 242 3900, or alternatively there is 083 763 6472. He is the campaign manager right there, taking us through what your rights are as members of the community, pertaining specifically to corruption within the SAPS.